Good afternoon, everybody. This is Scott McMeans, and welcome to another episode of the Business Spotlight. I'm with Action Coach, and I'm here with Pierre Bourgeix from ESI Convergent. This is going to be an interesting one, ladies and gentlemen, because Pierre happens to be on a few boards. He knows a few things about what it takes to run a business, and this is a really good opportunity to turn up the volume, watch a little bit closer because you're going to get some good information. So Pierre, thank you for being here. And I'd like to open the floor. So the camera and the microphone are yours, sir. Please do me a favor and introduce yourself to our audience.
Great. Yes. Thank you very much for having me on. So, Pierre Bourgeix, I am the CEO and founder of ESI Convergent, a company that it deals with manufacturing, consulting in the cybersecurity, physical security space, specifically in technology. So, we work with a lot of the manufacturers in the technology space, as well as the end user side of the business, which means we not only consult the manufacturers that produce technology for the security industry, but we also work with the end users in use of the technology. So it's an interesting conversation because we inevitably deal with a lot of the enterprises that use some of the technology that we consult for. So we've worked with many companies such as Hitachi, Unidom, we'll say NVIDIA, Intel, all of which are clients of ours, worked with them for many years. And we've been kind of a brand in the physical security space and IT security space for a period of since 2016. But my career goes way beyond that. I started out in '89 as a part of the RAND Corporation. I was one of those guys and worked in the State Department Security Services side on technology and also some projects overseas, which we'll not discuss. But that would be in the '90s and worked then on SATCOM, NAVCOM systems, then bridged that into IT and cybersecurity, and then physical security, perimeter infrastructure, and assessments to with the Navy and the other Department of Defense type of we'll say agencies as well. And yeah, so that my world basically crosses over many of the domains within security and intelligence. So today I'm kind of talking about ESI Convergent in regards to our experiences. I have worked with many companies, and because we work with many of the manufacturers in the security industry, we deal with many of their problems from a standpoint of technology and technology to market. So that bridges, of course, also into operational infrastructure and a lot of the things that they deal with, from digital transformation to deployment of their technology into the industry. That said, that's kind of Pierre. I was born and raised in LA, so I'm an LA boy. Have a master's in business administration and psychology. So I'm kind of an interesting cat that way. But because of my background, of course, you can imagine, I used it well over my lifetime. And today, with respect to technology, I guess, one of the thought leaders in the security industry within the technology world. I write, I speak, and I pontificate and bloviate wherever I can to ensure the benefit of the security industry is headed in the right way. And of course, dealing with everything that goes on in this world, I'm very busy. So there you
I
have
can
it.
only imagine. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. This, like I said, this is an interesting one because everybody should be worried about, or at least concerned with, certain issues with cybersecurity. It's an ever-growing business because the theft and the interest of people infiltrating your cyber world is ever growing. So I'm interested to learn about the different ways that you've taken your career from working with Department of Defense to manufacture. Like, I'm assuming it's a very different world working with the DoD versus working with a company because of the strict guidelines that DoD would have, right? But nonetheless, the information that a manufacturing company has, it's just as important to them as it would be our national security is important to DoD. So
100%.
what's the difference, or what's the environment that you would say exists between the DoD and its related agencies and the manufacturing world?
Well, I
Walk
think,
me through that.
yeah, so I think that interesting enough, obviously guidelines, right? The strict guidelines in regards to working with the agencies or working with the government are very different than working with commercial industries. But where they really try, in effect, connect is the fact that these processes are very needed and are critical in the success of some of these manufacturers as well. So discipline, right, in running a company is absolutely important. I think we
Hmm.
oftentimes don't realize how disciplined you have to be while maintaining a bit of creativity, because you can't stifle the creativity, but at the same time you have to have some of the discipline. Now, I myself have always had a difficulty dealing with that because I find myself as someone who's a technologist and someone who deals with technology on a consistent basis to be somewhat creative. So I've got to balance
Interesting.
that discipline with creativity and really know where the guardrails are. I think that's the challenge of running a business in the modern era, especially those within the security industries, that we have to know where the guardrails are. And we have to pay attention to the stop signs. I think the biggest challenge for anyone who's creative, and trust me, I think what it boils down to, if you look at most people who are entrepreneurs and those who are serial entrepreneurs and those who work within and have their own business, are really stuck in this real difficult position, because either you're an engineer and you follow, the Deming cycle, and you understand check, act, plan, do, or reverse Deming cycle, and you follow it constantly. But you have to be creative to ensure that you can invent
Hmm.
and be relevant in the marketplace. So you may have the right, path of discipline, but you may be stifling that incredible innovation that's necessary, or you're too innovative and you're spending all your money on innovation and not realizing you've got to commercialize the product to make money. So, it's like I say that most good engineers could either be a churn and burn cash machine that loses money, or one that has discipline and can make and squeak out a living. So or become the innovative masters like we've seen with SpaceX and those who built
Yeah.
the dreams.
I love the idea of the the guardrails, the guidelines, everything. But what's buried in that conversation and what you just said is one of the most important things that every business owner needs to understand. The process is the most important thing to keep your business in line with your guidelines, but allow you to have the creativity. So if you stay within the guidelines or your process, right? You're doing it. And every once in a while you encourage risk taking and you encourage somebody to do something different. As long as you're not hitting a voltage rail and completely taking a tangent, right? You can create a business environment that works in any situation. Now, there's always going to be challenges, but if the process is in place, that's what grinds the gears forward, right? And I appreciate you having that expertise and letting the audience know some of the most important things that we do is following a process, following the system that you put in place. Now, the funny thing is, how do you know which system works and which doesn't? And that's where you already said it, the engineering minds, the testing and measuring to make sure that everything that you are doing is constantly repeatable. And if it's not, go back and fix it. That's what really makes this stuff kind of work. And I'm curious, take a quick step back. When it comes to ESI Convergent, what would you say with all these things that we just discussed? What separates what you do at ESI Convergent versus what some of your competitors or some of the folks in the market would be doing that kind of elevates you to a place above where other companies wish they could be?
Well, I think that's a fascinating conversation, because that is what people are always trying to figure out, because they see us successful in the marketplace and they go, well, we're doing kind of the same thing. I says, well, yes, but here's the challenge, right?
Hmm.
One of the things I've made it clear is that we are a company that not only identifies and understands technology, but we understand the value of the technology to the liability of the business. And the bridge of technology to how it solves and creates outcomes that are beneficial for the business. Because one of the things I think is difficult for, especially the security industry, and we'll just really tie that specifically to security, is most technologies in the security industry were always created, yes, to detect or solve a problem, but it was typically a security problem. It was never a business problem. Today, technology that is security solves multiples of problems. And our philosophy, where we understand if you took an hourglass and the bottom of the hourglass is security, the top is risk. One of the biggest challenges for so long was the fact that all infrastructure, everything from computers to systems to whatever we use, sits at the bottom of that hourglass. One of the things that was most of the problem is that we know that people intersect towards technology and they become really the problem, right? Human beings are always going to be the problem, right, in technology. So when they touch technology, they create what? A threat and vulnerability. Well, for so many years, we created technology to solve that threat and vulnerability within the security environment. But we didn't realize, wait a minute, if we don't attach that threat and vulnerability to the business risk, we can't solve the problem that really exists for the
Hmm.
business. It's not just the security problem, it's a business problem. And once we can do that and we clearly can align our assessments, which is what we do, is we look at things in a converged way. So we bridge the gap between physical and cyber to business, then we can really define where the challenges are. Because it's just not about risk alone, is it? It's about liability.
Hmm.
And then once we get to that liability conversation, guess what we've just done? We created more value for that technology. We've created much more of an opportunity to get budget, to understand how it ties to governance and to policy procedures. That in and of itself is a big difference between what everybody else does in the industry, in the consulting community.
I love that.
So we're the bridge. We're kind of a McKinsey-ish kind of company that's a digital transformation in the physical security and security space, but we're also that really bridges threat and vulnerability to business risk, tying to liability, and creating the value beyond the technology itself.
Uh, all that said, I'm just going to summarize what I heard. Okay. No matter how good your technology is, people are always going to be the problem. Until you tie the business liability to the threat that you perceive is there, you can't solve the problem.
You got
And
it.
at the end of the day, right? So at
You
the end
got
of the
it.
day, no matter how good your technology is, somebody could easily breach it because they clicked on a link they shouldn't have, or they've done something stupid, right? So I'm assuming, Pierre, a lot of this comes into play when you're trying to work with a client. It's all the things you just said, and then it's, all right, how do we change the way you do things? Education and practical use, so people do understand and I love the wording you said. We're a bridge from technology to the liability to the value of the project. That's what we do, right?
Yeah,
So it's interesting that all of it comes down to human error.
it
Okay.
is always. Human
Right?
becomes the challenge. Yes.
Yeah. So that's your business. Now, what I want to kind of get my hands around is, how did you create such a successful business? Now, there's a value proposition that you have, right? There's a separation between what you do and what your competitors do. Well, what internally makes it a really good environment to be at ESI Convergent? What is it about your environment, the culture? Because as I said, I enjoy that part of a business is developing a strong culture. What's it like to work at ESI Convergent?
So I think that is what's so funny about who and what we've become. We're a landing place for those who really want to create change in the world they live in. we love those people who are innovative, who understand that technology, there's no limit to technology. It is only the humans that limit it, right? We've already,
Hmm.
we are, technology has far surpassed our intelligence already. So what I look for really are those people who are ready to take that next step in their careers and want to own a practice, who want to be part of a practice that is creative, that has process involved in it, that has an outcome that is going to help the client that they're serving. And the reality is that that's what's so exciting by people. If you ask any of the people that work with ESI, and work for ESI, they're going to say right away the excitement of working on projects because it's so diverse, it's so interesting, it's so different. Because we're not going to hold you back. Now, what we are going to do is give you the guidelines to fit within that program, but you're going to be able to be creative and ask the right questions and learn the process of how we get to solve these problems for these clients. And I think what's amazing is that, and we just came off a call, I just came off a call before I started with you, with one of our clients, and we have a 1 hour kind of like, let's think about the art of the possible by understanding the art of the how. And let's talk about what the art of the how means to you, Mr. Customer. And today, it's definitely in the process of change because the company that we're working with is in a change mode. But guess what? In the session we're working on is let's talk about the art of the possible. We know we're working
Mm.
hard at doing and building all the right mechanics to make you successful, but what we have to do is always talk about the art of the how, art of the possible, because that's what's going to get you excited. And that's what gets a lot of the consultants excited because they see a process that's consistently changing in the right way, is evolving in the right way because we know what our outcome is. We know what we want to do to help this company. We know what
Hmm.
the outcome is. And it could be generating more sales. It could be developing better technology, getting better at processes, doing the right thing in regards to that technology. And then if we're talking to the end user, it's very similar, right? We want successful projects. We want to have an outcome in terms of modernization of technology. We want to do what is going to be required so our business thrives. They're very similar, but different,
Yeah.
right? Using the same philosophy, the same process, but applying it in two different ways, right? From a manufacturer's perspective, who produces technology, and one that uses technology. So at the end of the day, I think that's why people love to work with us because it's challenging. We're working with an energy company and we're trying to build and find solutions for one of their facilities, which is very unique, and we're trying to fit a technology that makes the most sense to solve their problems. These are all things that are pretty cool. And then, we work from, startup manufacturers all the way to the biggest and baddest companies in the world, NVIDIA, right? Or Intel, or,
Yeah.
Johnson Controls Incorporated. I mean, just name them, we work with them, right? On different levels of what they need to get done.
That's impressive. And I think one of the more powerful or more empowering things you said was we already know the outcome. Now we just need to solve the problem. So whether it's the company that produces the technology or the people that use the technology, you have two different ways of attacking the marketplace, those that you work with and those people work with as well. So you have to have a very different, wide open, creative mindset to solve a problem that you already know the outcome to, which is a unique, very special way of looking at it. And I'm not trying to inject what I do, but it's interesting. One of the questions I like to ask my customers is, what does your business look like when it's finished? Right?
That's it. I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then we work our way backwards. Okay, if that's your goal, then let's work our way backwards. For you, you're saying, all right, what's your outcome? What do you want to have happen in this situation? Okay, now that we know it's more sales or it's protection of our secrets, whatever the case may be. All right, now you just work your way backwards because this is the problem or this is the outcome. These are all the problems we have to solve. Okay, we can solve all these problems because we're going to get there. It's a very reverse engineered way of doing goal setting and setting yourself up for success. But
Correct.
it's the same thing though, Pierre, right?
Correct.
It's follow a process that's put in place, because once you establish what the outcome is or your goal and you build a plan to make it, it's going to happen. That's
You
just the
got
way
it.
it is.
No, you got it. And that's
I love it.
and really the interesting part of that is most companies, when we get to that point, we realize, okay, what's your maturity level? What do we
Mhm.
have to change that takes you from immature to mature? How do we take that and build that program that's going to get you to a successful outcome that you want? And I'm going to tell you something. Sometimes it's like a hard lesson. Guys, you aren't there yet to get to the
Yeah.
outcome you wanted. This is what has to take place before you can achieve and reach the stars you want to reach. So why don't we do this? Let's tailor back that outcome to make it something you can reach. Be
Yeah.
realistic in your expectations of yourself. Because one of the things I think is the hardest lesson to learn for most entrepreneurs who are in business is to have realistic expectations. We
Yeah.
all love one drug, all of us. We're all entrepreneurs. We all love one drug. It's called Hopium. Hopium is one of the worst drugs you could possibly take. I
Oh God.
love the concept, but I don't want people to take it. I want people to be realistic, but have one thing in mind, faith. Be faithful in your capabilities, but just don't take hopium.
That's fantastic. Well, you should go on the road with this stuff. This is good. So not everything is roses and sunshine every day, right?
No, no.
So what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced and how have you overcome those? Or what is the challenge you're facing now that you have yet to work through to get that problem solved? Talk to me a little bit about the humble part of Pierre, right? This is where you get to tell me,
Yeah.
all right, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, every business has a challenge. It's going to be one of, four things. It's either going to be time, money, people, or
Mhm,
motivation.
mhm.
Which one is it that if what bucket does it fall into? And
So
I'm curious.
yeah.
Tell me
So
about your challenges.
yeah, I think there's a few things, right? So one of which is know what your limitations are as a person. Know what your competencies are and know what you can accomplish. Be humble in knowing that you're not good at everything, right?
Hmm.
I don't believe I'm particularly awesome at being a CEO. In fact, I'd rather be a CTO, right? I love that. But one of the things I have to realize as well is sometimes we have to do what we don't like to do. Okay. I
Hmm.
like to play CTO. I love that game. But unfortunately, I probably need to be a CEO, right? Where we fit over time is going to be the challenge of our time. And what that means is you have to know where you fit in time, in the world that you live in, and be comfortable with it. Because sometimes it's not exactly what you wanted, but you've got to just accept the situation. Now, that means that you're going to do shit, excuse the language, stuff you don't want to do. You're
Yeah.
going to get up in the morning and go, "Oh God, I don't want to do this," or I'm terrible at confronting problems, but I very well damn do it because I can tell you right now, when I was younger, I didn't, and I lost money doing it. When you don't
Yeah.
confront, you lose every single time. So I
Yeah.
learned a valuable lesson to confront, to deal with the situation. Don't let it lag. Don't be, saying tomorrow, mañana, mañana. The minute you do that is the minute you lose money. Money is fleeting. It comes and
Hmm.
goes, but you can
Always.
lose more of it by just waiting too long. And so I think that the two parts of the equation is being patient to be impatient and being impatient to be patient. There is a valuable lesson to be consistently inconsistent as well as inconsistently inconsistent. Because the reality is that it's a scale, it's a measurement. Sometimes you
Yeah.
can't always be perfect, and you know it, and you have to balance the scales. I can tell you that those are weaknesses of mine that I've had to deal with over my lifetime in business. I can tell you the other part is growth, how to manage
Mhm.
growth, because it is a completely different lesson to be a company that's 10 million to 12 million with 40 employees than it is with a 20 million to 30 million with 100 employees. It's a completely different game.
Yeah.
And that challenge of reaching different plateaus is like transformative in terms of your company. Because I can tell you that most people aren't prepared for it. They're not even ready for it. I can see people go, oh, I made so much money when I was a $10 million company. Now I'm not making any money. It says, yeah, you're making money. You're just doing it the wrong way
Yeah.
because you're consistently doing the things that are inconsistent or consistently doing the things that are consistent in the wrong way. It's amazing what people learn.
Yeah. And I would agree with you in that the comment, you need to learn to be patient to be impatient, but impatient in your patience, like that whole circular argument.
Yeah.
And I understand what you're trying to make the comment to. And it ties very well to this in that most people in business want to be successful, but once they find success, they have a hard time understanding how they got there and being able to repeat it. And what we try to do is everyone's think, well, I'm good at this, so I can just keep doing it. And the
Yeah.
growth part, the growth element part always seems to find itself on the side as opposed to, all right, I'm really good at this, so I'm going to keep accomplishing those things. I'm not so good at this, so I need to either learn how to do it or hire somebody who is really good at
Yeah.
that, and that's how I grow.
Yep.
And it's an interesting stepping stone where, okay, I'm good, I got better, I'm good, I got better, I'm good, I got better. And people fail to recognize, all right, you could be so much better if you either learn a certain skill set or hire somebody who's really good at that skill set.
100%. And hiring the
Yeah.
right consultant or hiring the right person like yourself or people that actually can coach them to the next level are so important
Mhm.
because I don't believe it is not easy to find the right person all the time. It's always important to really be, introspective and say, look, I may not be able to hire the person on staff. Maybe I need a bridge. Maybe I need a bridge to
Mhm.
get myself to another level. And I think that is what I believe very strongly in. I think that, a lot of companies need that service that allows them to get to another level. And I've seen it many times. I mean, there are many instances where, you think you need to be in control, but the reality is that you can have somebody who can help you through that path, right?
Yeah. The moment you think you're in control, you've lost control. That's just the way it is.
100%. 100%.
This is great, Pierre. I've got one last question. We've got a few minutes. If you were to sit down next to a park bench to an 18-year-old Pierre, what would you lean over and tell that guy?
Oh my God. I would tell them first and foremost, be patient, right? Because I was very impatient, right?
Yeah,
Second, don't rush to make decisions you don't need to make. Sometimes you have to be patient enough to listen and stop talking before you're being spoken to. Because at the end of the day, you'll probably learn a hell of a lot more.
love it.
The other part is that 18-year-old. Oh my God. Stop trying to make everybody happy. At the end of the day, you're not. You've got to try to understand that in life, we're going to disappoint people. So the biggest word in the vocabulary that you should know is no.
No,
Because sometimes us being yes because we want to do the right thing isn't the right thing at all.
100% agree with that. And that's a great life lesson for everybody that listens. Know your boundaries, right? Know when to say no. And you know what? In all honesty, don't be in such a rush to get to the end zone because there's a
Yeah,
lot of yardage between you and there.
100%.
Enjoy it, learn it.
Enjoy it and learn it.
Yep. Pierre, this has been great. And I think there's a ton of information and people are really going to appreciate what you had to say today. So I appreciate you being on the show. I appreciate your insight and I took some great notes. So this is going to be a really good episode. Those that want all of Pierre's information, contact information, his website, it'll all be on the description down below. So feel free to click and get connected. And Pierre, any last words?
I just say, you know what? In the world that we're living in today, we have to realize what we're here to do. We have to really be introspective in terms of our growth in ourselves, but understand that, look, we're going to get there as long as we have a very, very good understanding of that path and understand what is the outcome that you're trying to get to, have your expectations nailed down, and just reach for the stars.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you, Pierre.
Welcome.
Tune into the next episode of the Business Spotlight.